and welcome back to the fourth installment of this 5-part series on music, Bangers with Banker. I am once again joined by Cody Cox and Jack Calica as our experts.
Hello.
Hi.
This episode will be focusing on the age-old debate, which is better, old music or new music? The first topic I'd like to explore is, what would you consider the best album of all time to be?
Cody, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. So, I definitely think that the best album of all time for me is...
And these are going to be old albums released before 2000, I'd say.
Okay. So, released before 2000?
Yes.
Why does it have to be
Okay.
before 2000?
Or, no, just go ahead.
Okay.
No.
So, I will have to say, in my very humble opinion, In Rainbows by Radiohead.
Uh-oh, we're back to Radiohead.
Uh-oh.
Last episode be like, do I need to explain why, or is that
Yeah,
like...
I would like you to explain
Okay,
why.
so, in all honesty, Radiohead takes that W for me. It's just, hey, Jack, that's kind of rude.
Sorry. I've got a problem.
It's just really good music. I've not really listened to an album that I like more than that. And overall, I just think that it hits home with me more than some of the other albums I've listened to. And I believe it was released after 2000, so...
It was.
So you'd consider that new music?
Yeah.
Yeah, anything before, or I guess after 2000 and the Y2K, post-Y2K, I'd say is new. Because music has been going on for a long time, I think, including
You don't
20 years to
say.
spare. Nice. Thanks. I'm just trying to explain my reasoning there.
Right. What about you, Jack?
Me personally, my favorite is Microphones in 2020. You'll never guess when that one was released. It was released in
2020.
the year of our Lord 2020. Yeah, I think it's the best because it's one long song. The entire thing is one long song.
The whole album?
The whole album is just one long 47-minute long song. It's pretty great.
Jeez.
Lyrics are amazing. Great voice, great instrumentation, very
And who's this
diverse
by?
and varied. The Microphones in 2020. It gives you the artist and the
Okay.
year and the name
My
alone.
bad. I'm not familiar with these people.
You're not familiar with a lot of people. It's
That's
okay.
true.
I understand. That wasn't a criticism. It was just a letting you know type deal. So yeah.
So none of you guys have a favorite album? Like, what is your favorite album from before 2020 or 2000?
Neandre Lay Dace and just a t-shirt by John Frusciante.
Before 2000. God, I have a list on my phone. Hang on. Let me pull this out real quick.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Just you guys stall for a second.
Okay. I'll go ahead and explain why mine is. So basically, as I've talked about before, John Frusciante, favorite guitar player of like all time.
And what band was he with?
He is with Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay, yeah.
And so I just really like his music, and that is I decided that I wanted to go through his entire discography. That album was released in 1998, I believe, and which is 1 year before One Piece. Just gonna put that out there.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just like it a lot. It has a really old, like, low production kind of feel to it, which just sounds bad to some people, but I really like that kind of part of him. You can like just hear it just sounds like he recorded it on a microwave with like a rundown acoustic
That's
guitar.
your favorite part.
But the thing about it is like still so good that like he literally could make the most out of that situation with like low budget stuff, and it is still like super, super amazing to me.
Did you mention the year this came out?
Yeah, 1998.
And was this like one of his earlier songs or like?
This was one of his earlier albums,
Okay.
yeah. I think this might have been the first solo album he released.
So, Sai, you said, is this one of his earlier songs? And you're
Album.
not familiar with music, so I want you to know when there are a bunch of songs in one place,
It's an
that's
album, yeah.
usually
Yeah,
called
yeah,
an
yeah,
album.
My bad.
That's okay.
But he's making music now still.
Yes, his latest song was released in 2020.
Too bad he passed
And-
away.
And,
Shut up, Jack.
2022. And he did not pass away. Jack is blatantly lying. He got back. He left Radiohead. He left Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Dude cannot get Radiohead out of his mind.
This is too much.
He left Red Hot Chili Peppers in 2012, and then he came back for 2022 album Unlimited Love, and he played in that album with the rest of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So he kind of made a comeback recently.
Who would you say is the reddest, hottest chili pepper?
I think I'll go with Tom York.
From New York. Yeah, from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that was a green.
Your turn, Jack. Go ahead.
So, mine was released in 1994. It's called Grace by Jeff Buckley. Cody would love this album. He is super good at guitar.
I know who Jeff Buckley is.
Yeah, well, then there you go. Super good at guitar. The best voice I've ever heard on a human in my life. Dude sings like an angel. I love every single song on that album. It's all amazing. There's not a miss. It is nonstop bangers. Lyrics are great. Then he died by drowning. So just like all good artists
really?
do.
Oh God.
He was okay. So he was waiting on his tour bus to come pick him up, right? And he was by the river dock, and he's like, "I'm just gonna go for a swim real quick." So he took off all his clothes, jumped into the river, and just started having fun, And then a boat passed by, and a current and it just sucked him under and drowned him and killed him, right as he was about to go to a show that night. I mean,
When was this?
that is an angel dying right there, dude. I think it was like 2000, late 90s, early 2000, late 90s is when he died.
You think he would have been one of your favorite artists if he didn't die?
He is one of my favorite artists,
Like,
even though he did die. I
top-
mean,
like
died
top
so
2, top
early.
3.
Yeah, he's I don't know, top 50 probably,
Top 50.
top 20.
That's sad.
It is sad. Yeah, he only got to release 2 albums, and his father was abusive.
All right, back to your point. Let's recap. What was your favorite album, Cody?
My favorite album was Neon Drele Days and Just a T-shirt by John Frusciante.
And then Jack, one more time.
Grace,
Grace.
By
Jeff Buckley. Beth
So
Juckley.
these 2 artists and albums, they're good, but they're not quite as good as anything that's past 2000.
They're not as good as Microphones in 2020, which is my favorite post-2000 album. So, yeah, and it's not even close, honestly. It's like,
well,
and even though I love that album to death, it's just a wash,
I don't know. It's hard for me because looking back, it's like this album was released. In Rainbows was released with a good production. It was a good time period for music. There was like a lot out. You had a lot of resources, and it was made by Radiohead, which was very popular, very well funded. This was made by John Frusciante by himself, which isn't nearly as popular as Radiohead. So he just had less to deal with. And I think that, like, looking at those factors, still I prefer In Rainbows just because it is such a masterpiece. But for John by himself to put something like that out, it's close for me.
So this is kind of a subjective question, but do you think music is improving as time goes on?
No.
No.
Yeah, I'd say it is. New resources are being made available. Like what Cody said, you get new opportunities for production. More people are able to make music with like voice editing software that allows them to sound like they always wanted to sound. Allows them to play like they've always wanted to play. It just allows more people to become musicians. So by that logic, people with great ideas who couldn't do music before can now do music, and we live in a pretty cool era. But unfortunately, a lot of people who can't do music are trying to do music now, so it's kind of cringy. But there's a lot of good
Double-edged
music.
A, B, C, D, E, F, U.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah, it is a double-edged sword. You're right.
I am kind of biased because I'm like an old head because my father instilled that into me. If like you can't perform it live with your own hands, I'm kind of like meh meh meh. So that's my bad.
You
But
think some of the talent is gone?
yeah, I'm also, since I play guitar, I'm kind of heavy on like I want them to do it live. I want to see it live. And like also I just really like the old like grungy rundown kind of sound. Cuz like I like clean, pristine, like that's nice and all, but like having that like amp feedback every once in a while after somebody hits a chord in a song, I'm just like So
No,
So it's really
it's
subjective
awesome.
for you. You just like the old feeling.
Yeah, well, that sound still exists today, You just got to find it.
well, yeah, I do. It's just a lot more prevalent in older music, so that's why I prefer older music.
So although both of you guys mentioned that your favorite albums are all new albums, but when it comes to just all of your music that you listen to, would you say more of it's modern music, post 2000, or older music, pre 2000?
The majority of stuff in my rotation is usually post 2000, more recent stuff that either came out like this year or I guess just after any time after 2000 is usually, because I mean that's pretty big span of music, 20 years, and now more and more people are coming out, so it feels like there's just infinite music in that time that I couldn't even touch. So yeah, I'm usually, when I see a new album, I'm not looking for older stuff specifically, and newer things are usually broadcast more, so that's what I hear more, and that's what I'm introduced to more.
I would say that I have like a mix. I listen to rap a lot, and I have a playlist that I listen to a lot, and it's all newer music, and then all of my rap is newer rap. But I also have a rock playlist, and nearly all of the songs on that are pre-2000, and like I'll just switch between them. So I think I have more music that I listen to that is newer, but I would say that I listen to the rock playlist a lot. So it's like a 50-50 for me.
So in your listening time, it's 50-50
Yeah.
for artists.
But
Yeah.
if overall we're looking at like the total amount of songs I have that I listen to, the majority would be newer music.
So when you hear newer music, are you aware, like, do you know what newer stands for? Newer stands for manure because it's terrible and it's garbage,
Okay.
basically. Only all these talentless losers, these kids who come and
That's
jabber
not
out
what I'm
drugs
saying.
and money and sex. A bunch of losers who think they can make it big, like my OGs, Nas. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my
It's just no one
God.
holds a candle. Honestly, all this new music is just for these little edgy boys. You know what I'm saying? I just hate new music so much.
This is the real Jack.
This is the real. Yeah, this is my real self coming out. My demons.
So with old music, how far do you say, like, how far back would you listen to music? Like what? What's
I'd
the
listen to
cutoff?
Cavemen banging on walls if it was made available.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for something new, like I've mentioned before.
So
in
you're
like
willing to
episode
listen to
2.
anything?
I'm only time isn't a restrictor or anything. There's plenty of really well produced albums from a long time ago, and I'm a big production guy, so that matters a lot to me. I mean, there's always interesting things going on way before that may have been left behind that you get to hear in the brand new era.
Okay, well, I think me personally, I like older music. I listen to songs that are from like the 1960s. I listen to a lot of classical music too. I have so many vinyls of just like Beethoven and Bach and just like that. So like I listen to that a lot. But like on Spotify, I think the farthest I've gone back would be like the 50s for rock, and then like jazz and stuff would be like the 20s.
You're a jazz guy?
Yeah, I like jazz. You like jazz? But
Dude, that is so meme.
one of the older Red Hot Chili Peppers albums, it's literally their first album called Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Wow, how'd they think of that?
And I think it was released in 1984. And then there's also one called like Mother's Milk or something like that, dude.
Yummy.
And those are pretty old. I like them.
Do you guys like the old, like, Beethoven stuff? Is that
Old Beethoven stuff.
the
I can tell
old,
you're
like-
really
yeah,
you're
I'm
an
a big music
aficionado in the
person.
I did
classical
in
world.
fact just say that I listened to
Well,
Beethoven.
not just you,
in
like
background
Jack as
as well.
Beethoven is not okay, dude.
Like, would you put on your playlist? Would you
What I
do
put?
that?
Yeah, I mean, well, okay. I don't have a playlist. I don't listen to playlists. I just listen to albums. I don't have a playlist. But I mean, and it depends on the vibe. I mean, I don't want to like mix in Beethoven or like Debussy, funny name, with like I don't know, newer stuff like Animal Collective. Like that would not mesh at all. That would like blow my head off, and there's no reason for me to do that. Also, Cody, don't do that anymore.
Sorry.
Okay. Is there, like, with old music, is there any, like, objective claim that you can make that old music is better than new music? It could be, like, any... What part of old music makes it better, or what
So-
parts of old music is better than new music?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked. So basically, old music, that's an era where artists were less restricted by media, and there weren't such corrupt labels that were forcing these liberal agendas onto the newer music scene, Like, so
Right.
basically, why new music is bad is because the liberals got a hold of the media, like Joe Biden, crooked Hillary,
Yeah.
Joe Biden, stuff like that. That's pretty much why old music is better, because it's real,
Let's get a real answer, Cody.
I think that it
Whoa,
could
hang on.
absolutely be made a claim like that, because, like I said, I really like the lower production kind of sound where it's just like less refined and it's kind of just like evil and like grungy and, in all honesty, filthy is like the kind of
Filthy.
word that's the word I would use with that. And I'm also just like super into rock. It's like I've stated before, it's like my favorite genre, and there's a lot of like pre-2000s rock that I think pre-2000s rock is just better than post-2000s rock, so that's all I listen to practically,
Okay.
except for Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Besides just your own objective, like you like it because it's old and grungy, is there anything that, like, pretty much everybody would agree with why old music in some aspect is better than new music?
Well, okay, so
Queen existed, so they were pretty popular. I'm sorry, Jack, go ahead.
That's fine. It's fine. Well, I think, you go into the comments of any old music on YouTube or something, and someone will be like, oh, man, this when music was nice and good. I
Back
remember
in
listening
my
to
day."
this back when I beat my wife in 02. I mean, it's just like old heads infesting the comments with their terrible takes about today's music, and they're just like, oh, it's all garbage. It's all rap, mumble, crap, garbage. I need real goats like Tom McDonald to step in.
Oh my
Like,
god.
people do not think, they don't take things seriously that are released today because they're so ingrained in the idea that old music is better, because that's what they grew up on. I think nostalgia plays into that pretty heavily. I don't think there's an objective claim, but there is definitely a consensus with older people or like band kids who are like, oh, Queen and Pink Floyd, they're the only people who ever experimented or tried to push the boundaries of music. No one tries anymore, man. It's all fake stoner garbage. It's just no one really gives it a chance, because, like, okay, I mentioned however long ago that in like the fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade era, I only listened to like really old music. I was like, today's music is heckin' garbage, because a sound that a lot of people gravitate to from that era was like the 80s. It had a sound, right? There's like a gothic pop type aesthetic there, like
Yeah.
some cute little folky songs like that. And people like that music, and they think that's not made today, because what is really popular today is rap. And people don't connect with rap, so they make the mistake of all today's music being mumble crap, garbage, and they don't give anything a chance because they don't know that there's still good stuff out there. Because it's easier to just look and see these super popular songs that they like than look for songs of the same type that are way less popular and you have to actually search for.
So it's just like a common mindset that people think way back then, people were just more talented and more thought, and music was just better.
There's a big stigmatism against like auto-tune and stuff. You're like, if you use
Yeah.
auto-tune, you're not a heckin' real singer and you have no talent.
It's also just like the mindset of like like aging, like it ages like a fine wine. Like people are always like, oh, this song was released back when this band was super popular, and
The nostalgia.
they're just so good, and they don't really give like the new up and comers a chance to like really prove themselves, because like what they'll see is like these people's like these rappers just starting off trying to make a name for themselves, and it's like this song released by this new person who doesn't know what they're doing versus this song that was made by a band who released 12 albums before this and made music for countless years before they got popular. Man, this is just so much better. Like, yeah, it's going to be better.
That's just Mr. Wenzak with the Beatles.
It is produced by people who know what they're doing, who have experience. And yes, there are more materials available today for that, but like these people had more experience. They knew what they were doing compared to somebody who's like very new to the game, trying to start out, making a name for themselves, getting popular. It's like people aren't really, and also another thing is people aren't really willing to accept change. So it's like, oh, this person's getting popular. They're getting more popular than something I like, but this should be popular. So I'm not going to go with this. I'm just going to stick with what I know.
It's almost like there's like a different kind of talent nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely
I would say
changed.
so.
Like
See,
back,
I want there to be people who have no clue what they're doing, because the people who don't know what they're doing, eventually when they find their niche or what they like, they come out making something a lot more interesting than someone who like is like a technical okay, Charlie Puth and
Jeez.
what's Jacob Collier, both are, I cannot stress how much of geniuses these. Jacob Collier specifically is a genius, a jazz. Everything he does is literally genius, but his music is so bad. It's horrible. It is the most generic, watered-down pop you will ever hear in your life. I hate it. That same for Charlie Puth. He'll make like that song, and you turn me on, like it's just the most basic thing when he shows in his videos, in interviews, that he really knows what he's talking about, but it feels like he settles. So like he knows what he's doing. Knowing what you're doing does not mean that you're good. They clearly know what they're doing, but they're not good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't show.
I think so.
do you think that's because all the labels are pushing them to make these?
I have no clue what it's about. I don't understand, because I mean they still can make the music like Lil Yachty, right? He has a big label. He made a completely new album. He changed. I mean, you can still make that switch. I can't imagine what crooked, evil mafia, Italian mafia level deal he's in right now. Gun pointed to his head, telling him to make the worst music of all time. Because it's not like this is a small opinion, right? Like it feeds the masses to play
Yeah.
in the background music as like happy fun time, but it gets dogged on hard. People are like, wow, this guy is an assault on my ears and I hate him, but I still love him. People want to see these people do good because they know they can. I know they can,
It's
but
like
they won't.
AJR.
So I have a new. Like,
Well, AJR can't go anywhere and they never will actually.
Yeah,
so.
but I'm saying that the hate level is respective to
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Like
okay,
Charlie
that's
Puth,
fair.
Charlie Puth actually knows what he's doing. Like he very clearly conveys that in a lot of like his TikToks or just posts in general. And then he releases music and everybody's just like, this just isn't good.
So that's like a widespread thing.
That is pretty widespread.
People
Yeah.
won't
I'd say,
listen
yeah.
to his music because it's bad. Is that hurting him?
I mean, there are some people who actually like it, right?
Right.
But the majority of people who like actually like really care are more like music nerds, I guess, or like audiophiles, or like this could be so much better. Like, and it's especially disappointing because we know what he's capable of, but he doesn't apply himself in a way that's interesting or worthwhile.
What makes his like music bad? Because maybe he just thinks it's good. Maybe he just likes.
If he
that
thinks
music.
that's good, I need to beat him over the head with a crowbar, dude. I know that he doesn't think that that's the best he can do because it's just generic. It's like something you'd hear every day. When people hear his TikToks or hear what talents he has, you expect something new. You expect him to push the boundaries or try something that's actually interesting. But he doesn't. He doesn't apply himself. He doesn't apply what he has into anything meaningful. He uses what he has to make the most basic entry-level garbage of all time and then just rests on that. It's like he doesn't care, but I feel like he does. Like, I can't read his mind, obviously. I don't know if he cares or doesn't care, but I really don't think that he genuinely thinks this is the best I can do.
Are his songs just really repetitive?
Yes.
Yeah, dude, have you heard that one TikTok? You turn me on like a light
I have,
switch when you
yes.
swing your body around and around. Like, it's just, it's not, the lyrics are, okay, well, he's not a lyricist, you know, but in the terms of production, it's not as interesting as the stuff that he shows can be. I know he could do better. He could make something more interesting. Like, I feel like I've heard that song a million times. I want to hear something new, and I know that he's capable of producing something new, but he doesn't. Again, he just doesn't, and I don't know why.
His songs are very similar. Like, they have like the same like basic chorus, and he'll repeat it over and over, and like his lyrics aren't. And granted, like Jack said, he's not a lyricist, but like he never strives for more. You know what to expect from him, and like I think it might just be like the TikTok thing, where like people are just like, okay, this is popular, let's never change it again. But he literally just does the same thing over and over. Here's how I make blank on blank, and then he'll just like show you, like he'll be like a drum track, melody, and then he'll just like show you how he makes this song. But it's like, dude, that sounds the exact same as every other song you have made on this app. Do something else.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, he's very talented. I know that he could do more. I know that he could do more.
Has he ever tried to like make something new and like maybe his label shot it down or something?
I'm not the
I have no
Charlie
idea.
Puth expert, and
Yeah.
I'm not there behind the studio seeing what he is and isn't doing. But I mean, maybe he's tried something and his label's been like, we're not putting this out, and then he said, okay, more boring music. But I don't like, in terms of his discography or accessible music. I'm not an expert, but I haven't encountered anything that I thought genuinely felt like him trying to make an artistic statement with his music, or anything like worthwhile that he was super proud of.
Is that a common trope with newer artists, like as opposed to older artists?
Maybe.
I think so. I
Yeah,
would say
actually,
so.
that might be true. Because again, with TikTok, like we talked about in the second episode. Yeah, I'm losing track on my brain.
It's a lot.
It is. We touched on how TikTok basically just allows artists to do the bare minimum, and people like little children who are looking for a cute little sugar high off whatever music they're listening to, just for the sake of it being fun. There's nothing wrong with that. But TikTok encourages that more and more, so you can have that TikTokable moment, and then it just kind of encourages laziness. So I'd say that's more the case than it was way back when. Yeah, and I'd say that is the case more than it was back then.
So that's one of the downsides for the modern music.
Yeah, I can't blame music or artists for that, because, you know, that's just like, yeah, I mean, that's not the whole scope of music, obviously, but it is the popular side, whereas I don't think that was the case for even popular music back then. Like, there was obviously labels saying, make this kind of music, but it was it didn't feel contrived or as if they were trying to have it in, like, one little moment. At least they would have a catchy chorus or something like that, which is more than, like,
Right.
3 seconds of, like, Sin City was a that they'll slow down or speed up on TikTok for, like, to remix it.
I put it, like, adding to that, I mean, if you look at and I know that I bring these two up a lot, but look at Radiohead,
Yeah.
look at John Frusciante even, and look at Red Hot Chili Peppers, the stuff that they make. And those were people that formed before 2000. Look at the stuff they make. All of their albums are different. Every single Radiohead album is different. Every single John Frusciante album is different. Like, for example, in the Andre Lay Days, it's like an older, more acoustic thing. Inside of Emptiness, it is more of a heavy rock. And then Caraval, I don't even know how to describe that album, man. It is like synthetic rock mixture of tones flying everywhere. But it's different than the previous ones. Radiohead, Weird Fishes, different than Hail to the Thief. It's different than the bands. So it's just like, but like the people nowadays, they just make the same songs over and over with the same sound because that's what granted, they're scared to try new things because they know what works, and so they should just keep doing that to gain more popularity. But I think that in turn, that's also just hurting them. They would gain more popularity if they tried new things.
Right. So could that be... You're saying like modern music is less diverse than old music?
Yes,
And could that be one of the like big objective claims that you could have about older music?
I think so.
I'd say, at least in terms of the popular scope of what is easily observable, yes, I would say that that's probably true.
Like there still are people who do like for example, Radiohead is still making music. Like, well,
Radiohead.
they were still making music
Kind of.
post 2K, and like they would still be different. And so, like, basically there are people that will still make new music and try new things and do new things. And even like the newer people who are coming out, like the new rappers and stuff, like they still try and make new things. But specifically at a TikTok standpoint, like those people who get famous off of TikTok, they have the same sound. Those people will do the same thing over and over again. There's this kid, he's older than me. I shouldn't have called him a kid, but
This kid.
I don't remember his name. He's on my Spotify play. Christian Gates. He makes the same music. He just genuinely does. I have like 3 of his songs on my playlist, and they're just the exact same. Literally the exact same reverb effects, the exact same delay effects, different lyrics, different beats. It's just literally the exact same.
That's a little upsetting, honestly.
Yeah.
So is it like, are most popular artists like that, like mainstream artists, or are there mainstream artists who aren't bad?
I think there's a
hang
mix.
on.
I think there's a mix.
Definitely in the terms of the mainstream, there's definitely a mix. Now, allow me to point to a
Wet
young
leg.
up and coming. Okay, well yeah, they're the goats. So an example of someone who is always evolving, always pushing themselves sonically, lyrically, production-wise, always doing something new and interesting, and always pushing their voice to a new level and new storytelling perspectives is 3, 2, 1. Kendrick Lamar. It is no competition. He tries so hard. The evidence of trying is always there, even in some of his endeavors that I'm not as big of a fan of, which there are like none. I love everything he's ever done because he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
He is always pushing and trying, even though he's in the mainstream. And what I think, so as we mentioned a while back, his new album, Mr. Morale, was the last record he was releasing for Top Dog Entertainment Records. So before he was constricted to a label, but even then he pushed himself so far. I'm wondering if now that he's off of his label, he's going to try to push further. And again, that could be telling of the music. Like, I wonder why he's doing this. That could be pretty telling of the music scape of today. Like, oh, I want to do this. And then they said, no, you can't do that. Make it more marketable. I wonder if he's going to go even further. And if that's just kind of like, God, what's the term for it? The state of the day? What am I thinking of? It's just kind of like,
Acceptable, mainstream.
I mean, I guess that's just kind of how things are. Like, you just have to be marketable.
Marketable.
But I wonder
You
if
have
he's
to make
going to
money
try to
off of
push
it.
it to more like a jazzy direction, like he did on T-Pab.
A jazzy Kendrick Lamar.
He raps over, dude.
Dude,
This guy's a Kendrick Lamar. Dude, you don't know how
Hey.
jazz-inspired T-Pab
Okay.
is,
To
man.
Pimp a Butterfly. This dick. Oh, oopsie.
It's allowed. We're allowed. Ain't free,
Interlude.
dude.
You looking at me like you?
Cut me off. I'll go on the whole
I
thing.
want to do a little bit of a comparison here.
Comparison?
Right. Can you guys name a couple greats you'd say from like the old generation before 2000?
From the old ooh, okay. Jeff Buckley. Radiohead started in the 90s. They get a pass
Yeah,
for some of
Radiohead,
their
like
older
anyone who
music.
started before 2000. They can still make music, but like they started before 2000.
They still have to make music. Is that a
Well,
requirement?
they can still make music.
Okay,
They don't have
Talking Heads, Brian Eno, Roger Eno, David Bowie. He's pretty
David
great.
Bowie, yep.
Please, Cody, help me here.
Queen,
Queen.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Queen. They make
to.
terrible.
What about Michael Jackson?
Oh, the
Michael
Beach
Jackson.
Boys. Oh, I love the Beach Boys
Michael
so
Jackson
much.
is goated, dude.
MJ, Beach Boys,
Dude, Dr. Dre. We are
Dr.
forgetting it.
Dre, the GOAT, Snoop, Nas. Oh, I'm getting into old head rap now, dude. Hang on. What's his name? Mos Def. God, there's so many.
Biggie.
De La Soul, Biggie, Tupac. I mean, thinking of great artists, there are plenty. It's hard to count.
And let's
King
not go-
Crimson.
let's stay within like 20 years ish,
Yeah,
so we can be kind of even to what we
Okay.
have
Okay,
now.
so like 80s.
Yeah.
that would be around
Talking
that era.
Heads, I count them. Tears for Fears. I'm running out.
Radiohead.
Yeah, we already did that one, bro. We can't just keep
Again, Red
copying
Hot
back.
Chili Peppers. Those were in the 80s. Other people that started.
80s and 90s. Jeff Buckley, he fits in the 90s. Oh, Neutral Milk Hotel. They're a pretty big deal. Mr. Hewitt would love this. If he
Oh,
heard this
yeah.
right now, he would be a big fan.
Oh, there's one on the tip of my tongue. Ooh, I don't know it.
Dude, I feel like there is for me too. Why can't
Well,
I
that's
think
that's
of
a
anything?
pretty good list. So how?
No, it's not. There's one more
Okay,
that we're
okay,
missing, and we
then
need to get
I'll
this
wait,
real
I'll
quick.
wait.
I'll stall a little.
I'm so stupid. System of a Down.
Oh, yeah, dude.
That
That I
is-
think that's what I was thinking, Joe. Okay. Well, we got it out at least.
So could you name some you'd consider greats from like the newer age?
Omar Apollo.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I mean, I think he has more room to grow. I think he can do something really great. His most recent album was definitely an attempt at that, and it was good, very good.
He has
but
a-
I think he can go
Well,
further.
he
It's
was
like when
formed
it's like
recently.
when Kendrick released Section 80. he shows signs of completely changing from the basic main level, and the people are like, oh, he's going to do something great. Then he dropped Good Kid, Mad City. That is banger fest, dude. That is banger central. Then he went even further with To Pimp a Butterfly. I mean, he just...
Yeah.
Omar needs his To Pimp a Butterfly, all right? That's what I'm
What
basically
other
saying. Here.
artists do we got?
Some greats besides Omar. I'd say Travis.
Travis
has
Scott.
Travis
Kendrick
Scott.
in there?
Duh.
Kendrick
yeah, we
was
already.
before.
I used Kendrick as an example 2 seconds ago.
Right.
Suburban is pretty popular, I think.
Suburban. Yeah, is he one of the greats though?
No.
No.
I don't know.
What about,
I just
like-
know that he's pretty popular.
Some of the
Like people
God.
that I respect as being the greats.
Well, just even like considered greats.
Ooh, Lil Peep. was
Considered
Lil
Lil Peep.
X.
Wow.
Well, if not Lil Peep, X.
If I'm choosing X. X is definitely one of the greats. He had so much room to grow. I wish he could have, but he's like the Jeff Buckley of the
Or
modern
like
age.
Ariana
which
What
feels-
about-
Grande and those kind of
Oh
people.
my God, Ariana Grande's the goat, dude. I
I
love
mean,
Ariana Grande.
I think we're really forgetting somebody here. You know, another one that got shot. Well, actually, he had a seizure, but
Juice
WRLD.
WRLD.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't really
I
like
think
his
that-
music though.
I think
he's
he had
obviously
a-
one of the greats, but according to people today. But yeah,
This is a very loose list, but
Drake.
how would you compare these two like groups of greats? Like
It's
which
just
is
I
better?
think they make different music. Old rap is a lot more melodic and lyrical, and new rap is kind of like more upbeat. There's more of like a faster pace. It's kind of like
meant
and-
to generate hype.
yeah, it's meant to make you like run around the halls with your shirt off screaming. Old rap is meant to make you like sit in your car and bob your head and just
Yeah,
jam
like
out.
ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, you know, like that old head bob.
So I heard a lot of the artists you mentioned. I know for a fact a good amount of them, if not all of them, use some kind of auto-tune or pitch correcting software. Do you think that reduces the amount of like talent they have compared to the older musicians?
Not at all. Some people just can't sing, but they can still make incredible art. Like Lil Yachty
Yeah.
on his new album. He made an amazing thing with incredible production, great oversight, but his voice isn't the best, and he used autotune. And not only did that, I don't think it was required, but it definitely elevated it to a brand. It was like Pink Floyd with autotune. It was like something that had never been done before. That's an example of someone I'd put Lil Yachty up there. He's definitely respected. He's one of the greats for sure.
Absolutely.
Especially after his new
His
album.
new
He's
album was
completely
so
shifting.
good.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think autotune makes you bad. I don't think it means you have less talent. I don't think it means anything like that. I think it just means that you use autotune to sing better, enhance your vocals. It's the same way as like putting a filter on a guitar. You're just putting a filter on your voice. It's all the
that
same.
like and that I literally was going to say that is exactly how I look at it, because there are some things you can do with guitar that you just can't do unless you put a certain effect on it. Rain by Rob Scallon, who is one of my favorite guitarists, again, it has a delay effect. The song would sound completely different if you didn't have the delay effect on. You just couldn't play it how it's intended. And I think autotune is the same way. People just use it to enhance themselves. And another thing is Anthony Kiedis, the lead singer of Red Hot Chili Peppers. He uses autotune in some of his songs.
Really?
Yeah, especially the newer album, because he's old, but still, even before, he would use autotune in some of his songs. So like, it's literally just another tool you can use.
It's really great when people who don't need autotune use autotune, because then you can do something really interesting. Like
makes
there's
it
a lot
even
of like
better.
Sufjan Stevens. He uses it at one point, and it sounds crazy because you're not used to it. It can be a really exciting effect that you can add to your songs. Now people are like, oh, well, you can use those delay effects on your voice, and you don't need that to be good. It's like you can use autotune on instruments too. Like, okay, there's plenty of artists that would use like a fretless guitar, which doesn't just snap
Oh
into a
my
certain tone,
gosh.
and they'll put autotune over it to create like this really weird. Thundercat has done that, a really robotic, interesting effect. That doesn't mean he's not talented. Dude is one of the greatest artists. He's one of the greats for sure.
Oh,
Dude, he is
Thundercat,
respected
absolutely.
endlessly. He is T-Pab. That album would not be it without Thundercat.
Do you think there's a point where it's too much and it does make the song worse?
No, because even things like hyperpop,
I mean,
like
Travis Scott, he uses really heavy autotune. I love his music still.
yeah,
like-
there's no too much.
You
You
can
don't think there's
literally-
too much auto-tune? Like there's
No, same as there's
No.
not too little. If someone wants to have a really raw performance, that's what they're going for. Go for even if their
If
voice isn't
somebody-
good. That's a tool that they're
Yeah.
using. There's no such thing as too much.
If somebody literally wants to sound like a robot, Travis Scott, like, either way, his productions, I love his music. He is so good in features. He is so good at making his own music. In fact, I would be willing to say some of his features literally are just better than the song that he is on.
There's autotune playing in the intro music and outro music of this podcast. It would be sacrilege for me to say that there's such a thing as too much autotune.
That is a good point.
That's true. Very true. I like that point. So what do you think the older greats would say to people who really use auto-tune? Like,
They
would
would hate
would they think it's
it
fair,
would,
or
it depends if they were actually one of the greats, a humble Tupac. If he saw someone use autotune today, he would love that. He would think it's cool.
He
He
would
would be
use it.
glad that more
He would
people
use
are
it.
being able to use their voice and push their messages into the world, and now they're not afraid to use their voice. I don't think he would have any kind of like pushback on that at all. I think he'd really like it. I think okay, if there's like some super old, like Roger Waters or whatever his name is from Pink Floyd, dude is just a prick. He is not nice. He is such a jerk to it's like Morrissey from the Smiths. They are just jerks. They're so pretentious and annoying, and I hate them, and I want to kill them, but I'm not going to.
right,
Wink,
right.
winky. I'm not going to, but well, maybe I will later when I'm older.
Let's
And yeah, sorry, I'm gonna rein it in real quick. Morrissey, again, just annoying. He is pretentious, and even though he makes great music, he would probably say, "Oh, it's fake. You're not really doing it like I did it." It's like, okay, that is a pretentious, narrow-minded thing to say, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. Your question was, would the greats say that? I say no. The true greats would not say that. Someone who is real and humble and dedicated to the music scene as a whole would not say something so annoying and stupid and narrow-minded and closeted.
I
ever.
definitely think that they would maybe disagree with it, like be like, that's not my style. But they're not going to be like, you do it differently than me? You can't do it that way.
They would respect the hustle.
They would respect it, you
so
know.
they wouldn't
if-
call them fake musicians.
No. God, unless you're Roger Waters again.
Of course. Do you think these older people would actually use autotune in their own music?
Totally.
Absolutely.
It's a tool. I think a lot of people would push their sound in a really interesting way. Who knows? Maybe Tupac would have turned into Travis Scott.
I mean, I definitely don't I don't know if they would have like changed like a large amount or if they would have just strictly used
They do
auto-tune.
have their own
But I
style.
definitely think that they would be like, oh, I could implement this here and create a cool bridge section for me to lead into my chorus. That would be so awesome to use as a tool, as it is intended to be a tool.
And
Like-
autotune existed back then. Like, it existed in the 80s. I mean, it was being used during that time. Pitch correction and autotune have been around for a long time. It just wasn't used. So people have the mistake. They mistakenly think, oh, it's all terrible. Like, people mistake autotune when someone is singing and they go like, it's going to glide like, it's going to glide really like immediately crisply into the next note. But there's pitch correction, which is going to sound natural, but in reality it allows people to hold notes better, and that's been used forever.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to talk fake musicians, then that is fake. Like, you're just altering your voice to make it sound pitch perfect, and that's fine. But that has been around forever. People think that only autotune allows you to sound good and hit those notes, but that's not true. There are sound engineers and producers whose jobs are to make sure that these people are holding their notes and sounding good. And I mean, that's just the state of music. People are always trying to do what they can to sound as good as they can, and it's not fake. It's not a cop-out. It's just that's what they use.
Could you argue that using autotune and learning how to use it, like just learning the, application of autotune and pitch correction and all that software, could that be just as hard as learning to be a good singer?
Probably. I mean,
Yeah.
Lil Uzi Vert. He has to. There's a video of him going around went around a while ago of him, like, it was the raw vocals, and he was singing in a completely different way in order to fit the auto-tune itself. He completely readjusted his voice to sound good once the auto-tune was applied. That's a completely different level of skill. Like, that takes
Yeah.
just as much thought as learning how to actually sing. Like, it's just as much of a talent. And then pitch correcting software. I hate that garbage, dude. It is so hard to use. I mean, it's not like that hard, but there's so
Yeah.
many different levels to it, and it takes skill. It takes a lot to think about. So it's definitely a tool. It's not just a thought like, oh, let me just hit the auto-tune button and it works now. Like, there's a lot of thought you have to put. You have to make sure it's in the right key. You still have to have a knowledge of music to make it work. It's not like you can just say auto-tune, because if you just hit auto-tune, that's going to put it on the chromatic scale. And if you know what the chromatic scale is, that is every note that has ever existed in the history of music. And you're not, unless you are like within a semitone of the note you're trying to hit, it's going to fall down. You're going to sound like an idiot. So you still have to set it on the right thing. But I mean, of course, there are some people who use chromatic auto-tune and sound fine because they know how to hit notes and they can sing genuinely. But I mean, that doesn't, like, if you don't have it set like to chromatic and you still can't hit every note perfectly, that doesn't mean you're bad. Like, that doesn't mean that you're not good at music just because you can't hold every note within a semitone of itself.
Since we've established that learning how to properly use autotune is a skill, who would you say the best autotune artist or just autotune user is?
Cody,
Oh
do we
my
want to
gosh.
do we want to do a 3-2-1 type one? I mean, I think we're on we've been talking about him a lot. Now that's your
Yeah.
hint. Okay, I'm doing this. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Travis Scott, yeah.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, it's pretty easily Travis. I think he
He is so good at
revolutionized that
using
sound.
it. He is so good at using it heavily. I genuinely don't think that like Jack said, he really did revolutionize it. There were not as many people before he started releasing music using it the way he did it. And after he did it, there are a lot of people who are coming out and using that style now.
He pioneered trap as a genre for sure, and a lot of that was with his really thoughtful and interesting use of autotune.
So there are a lot of people though that would argue that older music without autotune is just better. And do you think that they actually think it's better, or is it just more like a nostalgia thing? Like, oh, back when I listened to this, it was so much better than what it is now.
Yeah, it's definitely nostalgia. It's what they're used to. It's what they've heard their entire lives. It's what they heard at like their weddings or with their kids or when they were raising a family, and they connect those because that's music. It connects to memories, and then you can have really fond memories with the songs of your youth. Nowadays, people are sad and angry, so when they see new music, they're like, "This is terrible. Why isn't this Pink Floyd or Queen or the Beatles?" Like it's just they don't know how to latch on to new things, or it's not that they don't know how; they just don't feel like it. And I mean, obviously, it isn't true that all of today's music is just bad. Like that's an incredibly stupid
I think
opinion.
that is a shallow viewpoint completely.
what
It is a
would've
shallow,
happened?
empty,
Yeah.
thoughtless viewpoint.
Doesn't make sense that just in 10 years music just becomes trash.
Yeah, it's not like music.
No, that's not going to happen.
Music has been going on for many, many moons, and it has not just suddenly been like, oh, it's bad now. It's just that things that are popular change, and what you see changes.
It's subjective. Like, in 30 years from now, when I have family and kids, I'm going to be sitting there. They're going to be listening to some weird alien pop rap, and I'll be like, I don't get these darn kids listening to this hoo-ha. Back in my day, we used to listen to Lil Pump and Lil Skies. That is literally just how it happens. It's subjective. Music will change, and the generation will either change with it or say, I don't want it to change. I'm going to keep listening to this old stuff, so newer artists have to change to fit what the people want, or the people will change to fit what the artists want. It's kind of just throw in the air, which happens.
I pray that in my old age, I will be open-minded enough to not ever be the kind of person who's like, they need to change. They need to go back to the roots of when music was good, back when the GOAT Travis Scott and Kendrick Lamar were running this game. It's like, I hope I never say something so stupid in my life. I mean, maybe I'll get dementia and turn into an old, bitter, grumpy Krampus type dude, but I don't know.
Well, I think that I'll definitely be like, I really liked the Travis and Kendrick era, man. I liked it a lot, but I don't think that's gonna make me be like, I hate the music now. It is so awful compared to this.
Yeah.
Do you think being around when this argument is so prevalent will help you in the future to it will change your opinions on how you should view newer music?
As the
Probably.
victim of the person who is always being told, this music is terrible, this sucks, this newer hip-hop wave garbage is terrible, I think I will look back. Hopefully I'll see the irony in me saying that to any new music and be like, oh, wait, that's what people said about me. Maybe I'm not right.
So it definitely has changed your perspective.
I definitely think it
Yeah.
has altered my perspective because I listened to an album and I sent it to my dad and I was like, dude, you got to listen to this. And it was the Neon Lay Days and just a t-shirt. And he was like, there's some really weird songs on that album. And I'm like, this was your time. How are you saying that to me?
This is you.
So our concluding thoughts would be that newer music is...
Terrible, yes.
Yeah, right. Newer music is no worse than the older music. And would you guys say it's better than older music?
Yeah, I mean, as a large...
So you
most
think
of the,
it's improving over time?
I
but
mean,
the old
I
music
think
is still...
I think it's an almost undeniable fact that it is getting better. Newer art, more ideas are getting put out there. There are new tools for artists. New interesting developments are being made every day. I think it is completely fair to say that music as a whole is getting better, and that it's going to continue to get better long after I'm dead.
It might not be the exact style that I like, that I prefer, like the rock stuff, but overall, music is absolutely getting better. I'll listen to rock one day. I almost don't listen to my rock playlist anymore. I just recently resparked that within me. And so it kind of made me realize that, wow, I was wrong about newer and older music. Like, newer music is improving. It is getting better. But that doesn't mean that old music is inherently evil or bad.
Evil.
So, you guys will both agree that music is improving and it'll continue to improve, but we can still appreciate what came before.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, don't write off newer or older music. Take it all in and enjoy it all.
Well, that was a very productive
Yeah, that was
podcast.
beautifully well put on my part. That would be the ending statement to just end all ending statements. I'm very proud of that. Can I get a fist bump, guys?
This one for sure.
Cody, you're going gear 3.
All right, well, that's all the time we have. I will see you guys in the next and final episode of Bangers with Bankers.
Anchor is the anchor, and it's gonna make you thankful that you're here.